It's a dark and gloomy day here in Avondale, Arizona, but we're hoping the only thunder we'll be hearing is on the track as we're live from the Phoenix Raceway for the Good Sam 400. Hello everyone, welcome back for some more Power V8 Cup Series action. We're here for the 8th race of the season and the 5th and final race of our West Coast swing. We're going to have some exciting action here as we had about 50 drivers enter in for today's event. Of course, only 42 can race, and so we'll go ahead and get you covered with all of our headlines and stories for today's race. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the highlights from our qualifying race that we had. We had a total of 50 cars enter for today's event, meaning that we would need to send home at least 8 cars for the event. We had a 33-lap qualifying race. Carl Unterweger would lead us down to the green. Lots of battle, lots of chaos here. It was a very eventful race, a 33-lap event in total. Priya McShane and Carl Unterweger would battle alongside with each other, and they'd race alongside really hard. We fought a lot throughout the day, both the 98 and the 43. Trouble would strike early within the first 10 laps as we'd see a huge crash commence between the 87 of Daniel Smith and Cam Wright Sr. Smith ran up the track a little too wide, and everyone behind him was just an innocent bystander. People like Leland Hill, Seishin Tomiyaki, the 10 of Solomon Sheridan as well. A lot of drivers got involved in wrecks and accidents that they just didn't need to be in. As we see here now, both another replay here of the 87 took out a lot of cars behind them, and all in all, just not too good of a day for those guys. Meanwhile, throughout the restart of the race, the 98 of Priya McShane would try to get around the 43. Unterweger would then try to get back around the 98 as well, and these two would battle out for quite some time until just a little bit later on in the race, when the 98 would actually end up running wide, slam the outside wall, and come back across the nose of Riley Hill in the 5, and that would wreck the 98 of Priya McShane. She would be able to recover the drive and still be able to finish within the top 27, but it was pretty scary close how close she came to the pack when rejoining the track. That would bring us a late race restart towards the end. Coming to the final lap, it was getting very crazy towards the transfer spots and in the positions where a lot of drivers were locked in. Up ahead of the transfer positions, actually, Dylan Hayden would be another victim for the second race in a row. Seems like he would just get dumped in the qualifying race, really third race in a row. Dylan Hayden having some issues in the qualifying race. He just gets wrecked, flat out dumped in the inside wall, and that would take him out, unfortunately. But in the end of the qualifying event, it would be Carl Unterweger who would come home for Ronnie Racing in the number 43 car, bringing home the victory for the qualifying race and securing himself into today's main event. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the championship gauntlet is forming up here. Our top 10 currently as it sits: Roberto Crown Jr., our new points leader, after his dominant performance last race at Sawmill. He's followed by Ethan Hayden just shortly behind him. Less than 20 points separate them. And Christian Russell just a little bit behind as well. Russell is going to roll off second in today's race. Ethan Hayden is going to be starting way further in the back. And Roberto Crown Jr. is around the mid-pack area, so it'll be interesting to see how our top 3 performs. Christian Russell has a great chance to land himself a good batch of points, maybe even reclaim the points lead if he's dominant enough. Abel DeGroat is just a little bit behind them in the 4th position, followed by Arvin Basic, who's had a great stretch of both a win and a top 5 in the last 2 races. Arvin Basic looking to continue to improve on that momentum. Nelson Reeves has done very well despite all the trouble he gets or how far back in the pack he starts. He always finds a way to make his way up into the front, and because of that, he's 6, just 1 point off of the top 5 in points. Owen Scott is a couple points off from Nelson Reeves as well. He's had a very quiet but consistent season. James Fletcher, 1 point off of Owen Scott. Fletcher won our 2nd race of the season and has had himself a couple of good points finishes that's allowed him up in the top 10. David Dixon in 9th is on a little bit of a free fall. He hasn't done well at the road courses. He's been getting wrecked out a lot of bad luck happening to him. And because of that, he's fallen from 3rd all the way down to 9th in the point standings. David Dixon going to hope to try to get a good finish in today's race. And Brett Bishop in the 10th position has leapfrogged his way up after quite a few good finishes in the past 2 races. It's going to allow Brett Bishop to be 10th in points and be the last one that is within the championship gauntlet positions. Those who are still locked into each race but are just on the outside looking into the championship gauntlet include Chris White after his very good two first debut races. He got promoted to full-time now. He is just 2 points off of his boss from that 10th position. Jeff Bolton 1 point off of White. And then a little bit back is Adam Wilson and Devon Fair as well. And Justin Henley is the last of the cars that are locked in to each race. Nick Kennedy and Henley are tied, but Henley breaks that tiebreaker. He wins it with his win, of course, as Nick Kennedy has not won yet this season. Zachary DeLello and Boston Jones, along with Myron Felder, tied with 34 points apiece, and Leland Hill just rounds out that top 20 positions with 31 points. Another look at our top headlines. The West Coast swing has definitely been making and breaking a lot of teams, as we're seeing a total of 4 full-time rides switch the hands of either drivers and or owners. We'll take a quick and very brief look at the driver changes. The number 9 Bradley Ream car that was being ran by Jeff Bolton Racing after Ream has been banned by the Power V8 governing body. That ride was up for availability. Jeff Bolton has put in international driver Seishin Tomiyaka in the new number 53 Ford for JBR. Along with that, our last race winner, Felix Rizzo, is unfortunately no longer going to be racing with us. He wanted a much larger contract extension with Robbers Racing after getting them their first career win. The two parties could not come to an agreement, and so now Rizzo took the funding from Nintendo with him from Robbers Racing, and he'll no longer be in the 51. That car is now transferred to ownership over to Robin Hood Racing and Christian Russell, where they'll open up a second full-time entry for the number 38 of Herbert Oakes III. Alongside with them, we'll also be seeing the 87 of Daniel Smith. Smith, after just 2 races with Double or Nothing Motorsports, came to a disagreement. The two decided to mutually part ways. Smith now on a part-time ride with Vortex Racing. You saw he unfortunately missed the race earlier from the qualifying race, but still the number 87 is now going to be the number 02 with Mitchell Collins for Double or Nothing Motorsports. Collins will roll off 8th in today's race. And finally, the number 94, Carson Jefferson, is no more. Jefferson was released by Elite Forces Racing after a total of 4 DNQs, 3 of them being in the past 3 previous races. Justin Henley will now take over the full-time ride, the second car for Elite Forces Racing. Roger James has tapped Weston Roper to fill in for the last race of his injury hiatus. James expected to come back next week at Talladega. Roper is going to fill in the number 93 for this week and get another 10 races in the new number 52 U.S. Air Force Ford with Elite Forces Racing. So a lot of teams being restructured and swapped around. You'll be seeing some new faces in new places. With it being June and the celebration of Pride Month, many of the Power V8 Cup Series teams, sponsors, and drivers are celebrating Pride Month in style with 10 different drivers repping some sort of Pride paint scheme, about 7 of them running a general LGBTQ Pride paint scheme, and 3 others running more specific paint schemes for different parts of the LGBTQ community. You'll see Abel the Groat with a trans pride paint scheme, Adam Wilson with a trans and bi pride paint scheme, and David Dixon running the gender fluid pride car. A lot of colorful cars, some really awesome paint schemes here designed by Royalty Graphics, and for the celebration of Pride Month here at the Power V8 Cup Series, we want to be as inclusive as possible. We don't want anyone to feel like they can't join the Power V8 Cup Series, no matter what the reason, no matter who you are. We want you to feel welcomed here at Power. So we love to go ahead and do these celebrations, run these really cool theme paint schemes, try to make everyone feel involved, get everyone involved in the community, no matter what background you come from, what you believe in. At the end of the day, all that matters is we're here for some good old fun and some good racing. So we're happy to celebrate Pride Month with you guys, and you'll notice throughout the event there's 10 cars that entered. Cam Wright Sr. unfortunately DNQ'd, so you won't see that car in the race, but you'll see 9 different Pride-themed cars out on the track, and it'll be cool to see if one of them can park it in victory lane. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at how our starting lineup is going to be for today's race. Jeff Bolton has landed himself his first pole of the season. On the outside of him is Christian Russell in second. Nelson Reeves getting himself a very good starting position in third, followed by Carl Untersweffer in fourth. James Fletcher will roll off fifth, with Myron Felder to his outside in sixth. Row 4 will see Priya McShane on the outside with her best qualifying position of the season, and Mitchell Collins making his debut, rolling off 8th in today's race. Adam Wilson and Owen Scott will be the ones to round out the top 10. Another few Ronnie Racing dodges. Ronnie Racing looking to have a lot of strength in today's race. Row 6 will see Abel DeGros and Roberto Crown Jr., followed by Riley Hill and Alexander Rowe. Rowe missed out on his first 2 starts in the last 2 races, but he's finally going to make his debut this race, and he looks to have a decent shot at getting himself a points position. Adrian Rojas with his best qualifying effort in 15th, followed by David Dixon. Then we'll see Chris White and Devon Fair in row 9, and Aiden Smith and Brett Bishop will round out the top 20. Just outside of the top 20 is going to be Ben Crouch and Cody Goforth, followed by Xander Howell and Weston Roper making his debut in today's race. Then row 13 will see Boston Jones and Justin Henley, followed by Blake Parker and Arvin Basic, and JQ Halak and Nick Kennedy will round out the top 30. Just outside of the top 30, Ronnie Martin, and second place in points, Ethan Hayden. Hayden going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to be able to get to those point spots. Then following him is Seishin Tomiyaka making his first day race, and Marcus Brown as well, continuing his part-time schedule. Christian Vargas and John Ritson will make up 35th and 36th. Zachary Fitzwater Sr. will line up 37th, and Herbert Oaks III will roll off 38 in the 38 in his debut race. And John McFadden and Zachary DeLello will round out the top 40. Ricky Freeman Jr. and Miles Mashburn would be the final drivers to be able to qualify into this race. Those that did not qualify include Daniel Smith for the second race in a row. He is going to DNQ, followed by Solomon Sheridan. Leland Hill, tough break for him. Cam Wright Sr., Dylan Hayden as well. Really, really bad break for Hayden. This is, I believe, the 4th race in a row he's had to DNQ, and a lot of the times it really hasn't been his fault. He's just been getting flat out wrecked in these qualifying races, and it's very unlucky because he was in the transfer spots, well in the transfer spots, when he got dumped. A lot of these drivers you're seeing, pretty much all the drivers that are in the DNQs got involved in the wreck in some way or form. Josh Moore unfortunately had to DNQ. He had a problem with his car, went a lap down early. Ruben Gonzalez as well, and Alrighty Alejo unfortunately will not qualify in today's race. JCM having a very bad day. Besides the 2 cars that were locked into this race, the other 3 cars that they entered all failed to qualify. So unfortunate to see for that team. And now let's go trackside for the command of the Good Sam 400.
Drivers, start your engines!
Okay, man. Get fired up when you're ready, bud. They get fired up. Get up. Early.
All right, 42 engines are alive and fired away. Let's go ahead and take a look at our track analysis for today's race. We're going to go 78 laps here around the Phoenix Raceway. It's a pretty warm but cloudy day, 84 degrees Fahrenheit, with the wind coming in from the southwest direction at 12 miles per hour. In terms of the pit strategy, these teams and crew chiefs have been very secretive about it. They do not want to really give away anything. From the sounds of it, though, it could be possible that a lot of these teams are going to try to pull off the no stop here and make it all the way to the end without coming down pit road. As long as they don't suffer any damages from any crashes or anything like that, it's looking like a real possibility. Nonetheless, Jeff Bolin and Christian Russell are going to lead us down. 2 drivers that are within the top 15 of the points. Russell currently 3rd in points, going to look to bring himself a really nice haul of points, while Jeff Bolton looking to also do the same, possibly get his first career win as well. So coming around the final corner, the 34 and the 39 are going to lead us down to the green. Green flag is out here at Phoenix. Caution is out as Jeff Bolton gets absolutely plowed on that inside line. Christian Russell will lead us back to the green as a good bit of cars. Zachary DeLello and John McFadden, along with Christian Vargas, have some heavy damage. We'll go ahead and get a replay for you and see exactly what happened. So a huge wreck here as we're going to see the 08 of Christian Vargas is going to get into the 53 of Seishin Tomiaka. Tomiaka didn't get much of a debut here as he's going to get immediately dumped into the 77, and that's going to force DeLello and Fitzwater to take two really wild rides. Tomiaka immediately out of the race. A bunch of other cars involved as well. Take a look again on the restart. You'll see at the bottom the 08 of Vargas just completely clips the 53 of Tomiaka into the 77, forcing him to have nowhere to go, and that just catapults him up on top of the catch fence and on some other cars. Vargas just got absolutely giddy on the restart and hooked the 53 of Tomiaka through the dogleg, and that's just going to involve a ton of other cars. Two of the Parker Enterprises cars, including Ricky Freeman and Zachary DeLello, involved. And, well, not a good day for Mashburn or the 89 of John McFadden. We'll go on board with Christian Vargas as we watch him pretty much just flat out dump the 53 of Tomiaka. As he just goes to the left, 53 comes up, and nothing you could really do after that. The reason of our first caution on lap 1, couldn't even get across the start-finish line before they really started wrecking here, as a gigantic pileup is going to involve a good bit of cars in the back. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, here to the Good Sam 400. We're under caution on lap 5, going to get restarted on lap 6 due to the lap 1 incident involving Christian Vargas, Ricky Freeman Jr., Seishin Tomiaka, Zachary Fitzwater Sr., Miles Mashburn, Zachary DeLello, and the 89 of John McFadden. The 53, 77, the 89, all going to be out of the race. Unfortunate for Tomiaka, as his debut of the season only lasted about not even one corner. But luckily for him, he is full-time, so he'll still get plenty of other chances to make the upcoming races and continue on the season. Disappointing as well for Zachary DeLello. He was trying to get back in the top 15 in points, and John McFadden not going to be able to continue that streak of consistency. Christian Vargas is going to go a lap down, and we are going to get restarted here on lap 6. Russell and pretty much the entire outside line was able to outpower Jeff Bolton. Bolton did not get a very good start, and as a result fell all the way back to 6th on that restart. But the field is going to come through now. Christian Russell, Carl Untersweffer, and Myron Felder will lead us down back to the green. We're getting restarted here at Phoenix. See here, a couple cars already shoot to the outside. Whoa! Owen Scott makes a little bit of contact with the 46 of Myron Felder. That was extremely close. Here comes the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. Oh, cars are trouble. There's in the back. Cars are around. One is upside down. I think that's the 01. Don't know who that is. Yes, that is the 01 of Devon Fair upside down on his roof. Caution is back out, and Christian Russell will lead us back to the line. Absolutely chaos here at Phoenix. We'll go ahead and get a replay, see exactly what happened. So this wreck is going to start early on here in the restart. Devon Fair and Alexander Rowe going to get caught together here coming through the dog leg. Fair and Rowe just, oh, actually looks like Rowe got into Priya McShane. It's going to force them to come up. Fair gets, absolutely pummeled by Adrian Rojas. And then he just takes a wild ride upside down. Luckily, that should be the end of that. Ooh, Herbert Oakes having to just barely get around him. Coming across the line as well, those trying to check up got involved, including John Ritson and looks like Ethan Hayden potentially. Yeah, Hayden. Ooh, actually, Hayden was able to get in the brakes, but Ritson, unfortunately, not too lucky. Gets a good bit of damage hitting the 03 of Ben Crouch. And then you see the 01 of Devon Fair just parked upside down. Devon Fair is going to have a very interesting onboard here with this replay. Like I said, just going to get into the 84 of Alexander Rowe. Rowe's going to come into him. And he's just going to get whacked by Adrian Rojas. He's just along for the ride. Also take a replay on board with John Ritson is going to get a very interesting look at this wreck. Has to slam on the brakes to avoid Devon Fair, otherwise he would have hit him head on upside down. That would have been awful. Gets caught up in the wall. And unfortunately Ben Crouch just comes back in front of him. Take one more look at this huge incident as Devon Fair is going to go for a wild ride as a result of Alexander Rowe getting a little too aggressive on the restart. And as this flip would be the result of our second caution of the race on lap 6. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back everybody here to the Phoenix Raceway. We are live for the Good Sam 400 and under caution for the second time today, involving a huge accident on lap 6 between Devon Fair, Ben Crouch, Blake Parker, John Ritson, the 38 of Herbert Oaks III, Aiden Smith, Adrian Rojas, Nick Kennedy, and the 84 of Alexander Rowe. Amazingly, and I say this truly amazingly, Devon Fair is still in the race. In fact, that wreck caused no casualties. There's quite a bit of drivers with some damage, of course, and they've gotten that repaired. But for the most part, nobody out of the second wreck is going to be out of the race. And Devon Fair and his team somehow got that car patched up enough under the Power V8 Cup Series specifications. He's pulling a Dale Earnhardt right now, but way earlier in the race. Devon Fair, you see how smashed up his hood is. You see how smashed up Aiden Smith's car is and John Ritson's car is. You could see it. A lot of TLC elbow grease and some hard work went into quickly repairing those cars. But it is amazing to see the integrity and the structure of these V8 Cup cars, that you can flip them over and still keep on going. Devon Fair is going to add himself to the list of those a lap down, as well you can imagine repairs such as this can be quite extensive, but it's still just a true testament and impressive enough to see that they have gotten the car patched up enough to where it can still keep running, and that the car is durable and strong enough that a wreck like that won't affect it too much. It's really, really amazing to see the engineering that goes on here in the Power V8 Cup Series. We're about to get restarted though, as Christian Russell, once again, he's been leading every single lap so far this race. He's had himself a good hold on the lead, and he's looking to continue to build that up. Carl Unterweger and Myron Felder are going to look to change that here, as we're going to get just past a little bit over a tenth of the race here. Pace car has been dived down pit road, and we're going to see here Vargas and Devon Fair, the two lap cars on the inside, everyone else still on the lead lap. Russell leading us down. He's going to enter the restart zone, and the green flag is going to be back in the air here at Phoenix. Right here, as we see, Russell gets off to a pretty decent start. Felder going to try to chase him in. 4 cars all on top of each other. A lot of cars trying to avoid the 2 lappers of Fair and Vargas. Roberto Crown Jr. getting a little bit held up. He's going to move to the outside to try to avoid them. 1 car down pit road that looks to be Zachary Fitzwater Sr. to possibly repair some more damages, and it is. Unterweger getting right up to the rear of Christian Russell, trying to reel him in. As we're coming around now, cars getting all single filed out. Good bit of some battles going on here between, looks to be some of the lappers. David Dixon going for position on Xander Howell. And oh, they might go 3 wide. Nope, Devon Fair thought about it. It's amazing to still see that car somehow out there still running and competing. I really had no idea how they kind of Frankenstein that thing back together, but a big props to the 01 ATX team and getting that car back out there and repaired. Right now though, lap 13, Russell out in front and in the lead. Unterweger and Myron Felder though, very, very close on the chase. Unterweger He's had a very quiet but uneventful season, hasn't been able to do much, but right now is looking really good here at Phoenix. He won his qualifying race, and he's up here in front putting a lot of pressure on our leader in Christian Russell. Myron Felder as well, he's been pretty consistent throughout the first couple events of the races, and the 46 car looking to put himself in a good position right now, sitting in the top 3, just kind of eyeing what our 2 leaders do as the caution is out. Once again, Adrian Rojas is around. Something happened with the 65 car. Russell will lead us back down to the caution flag on lap 15. We'll go ahead and get a replay and see what happened to Adrian Rojas. Take a replay here. Some pretty hard racing. Looks like Blake Parker are going to try to force the move 4 wide, and they're just going to get squeezed up between the 65 and the 38 of Oaks. And, well, a couple cars actually get involved here. John Ritson as well with Aiden Smith and Fitzwater. So a couple cars got sent around in that foray. So we saw what happened to Rojas and Parker. Parker got squeezed up Rojas between him and Herbert Oaks. Let's see what happens now between Smith and Ritson. Oh, Ritson and Smith just kind of get hooked together, and they just kind of take Zachary Fitzwater along with them. Some pretty rough days get even rougher for these guys in the back. Caution is out on lap 15 for a couple cars spinning out and making some contact with the wall. Adrian Rojas getting the worst of it. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Good Sam 400 live from the Phoenix Raceway. We're under caution on lap 18, about to get restarted here for the lap 15 wreck that involved Blake Parker, John Ritson, the 40 of Aiden Smith, Zachary Fitzwater Sr., and Adrian Rojas. All of them will still be continuing on in this race, and you'll see some of our lappers now come up to the front. Zachary Fitzwater has gone a lap down due to that earlier pit stop that he had made, and now had to make another pit stop on top of everything as well. So you see here Devon Fair still a lap down with that incredible amount of damage to his car, and Christian Vargas also trapped 1 lap down along with Fitzwater Sr. About to get restarted though here. On lap 19, Christian Russell has been out in front and in control the entire race so far. We'll see if his dominance can continue, or if Carl Entwisweffer can get himself a good restart and find his way around them. We'll also have to see if these lap cars will play a big factor in the amount of traffic and positions these guys can jockey for. Pace cars come down pit road. And it's Christian Russell and the 43 Carl Entwisweffer going to lead us back down to the green. We are restarting here at Phoenix. Russell going to get off to a tremendously good jump off the line immediately here. Oh my goodness, the lap car's causing a huge crash. It's the big one at Phoenix. More cars coming in. Oh my goodness. Adam Wilson upside down once again. Able to grow involved. Tremendous. They're still wrecking. Chris White and Ben Crouch getting involved. More cars getting in the wall, just trying to avoid them. A lot of cars going to have to come down pit road. This race has been absolutely madhouse. Alexander Rowe looks to be out. Dixon Goforth with a huge amount of damage. Caution is out on lap 20. My goodness. So we need to take a look and see what happened here, as this wreck pretty much took out half of the entire field. I think Vargas and Fitzwater are going to have a coming together on the restart. Yeah, Fitzwater just going to hook Vargas, and that just sends him up the track. Very, very very reminiscent of the lap 1 crash we had here. But man, oh man, just all these cars. Wow. Another look here at the huge incident. Zachary Fitzwater Sr. is just going to hook Christian Vargas into the field. Takes out Owen Scott and Jeff Bolton, our pole sitter. Adam Wilson flips over. Alexander Rowe. Just all these cars diving in. And they are absolutely totaled. And then there's even more wrecking here, as we'll see with the 22. Chris White gets into the 03 of Ben Crouch as well. Just absolute chaos here. A lot of cars have to ride the wall just to avoid that second wreck. take a decent look at all the cars slamming into the carnage from the back. You'll see guys like Aiden Smith, Blake Parker just have nowhere to go in this dogleg. Everyone just slamming on the brakes and spinning out. That was the best way that you could have possibly avoided it there. Many cars absolutely totaled. Boston Jones out of this race. Adam Wilson has a tremendous amount of damage. The second time this season that 00 car is flipped. Nick Kennedy is going to have an interesting look at this crash. You see it all the way at the top of your screen begin to form. And just a bunch of white smoke and cars going all over the place. They have nowhere to go. Oh. See Adam Wilson get flipped over. Absolutely chaos. Go on board with Christian Vargas for this restart as he takes an absolutely wild ride. Gets hooked, has nowhere to go. Wow. Caution is out on lap 20 for one of the biggest wrecks we've had in the series, and we've seen some pretty huge wrecks. This is very reminiscent of the Denver incident at the end of the race, but here it's not even at halfway yet. We will be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody, here on lap 22 at the Phoenix Raceway. We're set to get restarted on lap 24. We're going to need a minute to go over all of the casualties that were involved in this wreck. It would pretty much be easier to go over who wasn't in the wreck, but all of those that are out of the wreck are going to include Adam Wilson, JQ Halak, the 15 of Owen Scott, the 18 of Boston Jones, Ethan Hayden, who was second in points, got caught up in that. He's out of the race. Chris White out of it. Jeff Bolton, our pole sitter, out of the race. The 38 of Herbert Oates making his debut. It has come to an end. The 44 of Arvin Basic is out. Zachary Fitzwater Sr. also out. Miles Mashburn, Zachary DeLello, Alexander Rowe, Priya McShane, and Xander Howell all out of this race. There's a little less than about 20 cars that are still within it, and a couple of them are still a lap down, but they for sure have a much, much better chance at making it to the end. And now you kind of see why a team like Devon Fares managed to keep them out, because this race is all about attrition. It's all about survival. If you can just make it to the end, you'll have a good shot at getting some points, even with your car having a caved-in roof. You're going to see now two of the Mercedes-AMG cars, the matching teammates, Ben Crouch and Marcus Brown, also have gone a lap down due to the incident, but they're going to still keep it going. A couple cars that I should mention as well still somehow fighting in this race. Right here you're seeing the 17 and the 40 Aiden Smith. They're still on the lead lap, along with David Dixon, Weston Roper, James Fletcher, Adrian Rojas up there now. He's technically battling for the points. He's in 18th. So we have just about 24 cars left in this race. So my mistake there. We still have a little over 20 cars in this event, 24 to be exact. 3 of them are one lap down, so 21 guys on the lead lap are going to battle it out for these 15 points paying spots, and these guys lap down going to try to get their lap back. Green flag is back out here at Phoenix. Watching the tri-oval, they go 5 wide with the lapper of Marcus Brown. Cody Goforth with an absolutely ballsy move is the only way I can explain it. There's a lot of chaos here in the back with all these damaged cars. Many of them don't even have a hood on them anymore. But they're still going, trying to do whatever they can. It's looking like a junkyard race out here, more like an enduro event and a Power V8 Cup Series race. But nonetheless here, Christian Russell out in front. Carl Untersweffer, Myron Felder. I think now with the field a little bit slimmed down, we can finally get ourselves a pretty decent green flag run going. What do you say? Trying to get some laps out here and get these guys going. Justin Henley battling it out with the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. for the 6th position. These guys moving their way up into the top 10. Roberto Crown Jr. going to be able to hopefully keep netting himself some good points here. Nelson Reeves as well, sitting in 4th, trying to lap the 01 of Devon Fair. He's going to make good work of him. Crown Jr. trying to get around the 0-2 of Mitchell Collins. Collins in his debut race going to dive it to the outside of Nelson Reeves, and he's going to make the move work. Look at Mitchell Collins in his debut for Double or Nothing Motorsports. Team has not had much success or speed, but they're showing a lot of potential here, as Collins in the 0-2 is really starting to look like a rocket on this restart. Moving on up to fourth. Meanwhile, Carl Unterweger losing some time, about half a second back on Christian Russell. Myron Felder is going to get behind him and try to put the pressure on for the second position. Nelson Reeves, though, found his way back around the 0-2 of Mitchell Collins. Collins going to lose out that fourth spot. Now Justin Henley has gotten around the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. He's going to block Crown Jr., but going to slide up the racetrack a little bit, wash up just a slight bit, as we are seeing here. Look through the field now. Henley trying to get to the outside of Nelson Reeves. Collins has gone back around the 76. It seems to be a real back-and-forth seesaw battle for this fourth position. Devon Fair is definitely a factor, but the 0-2 of Collins has finally gone around the damaged car of Fair. Fair going to block the momentum of the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. Crown Jr. going to try to just use it to his advantage, though, and give some draft. And he's actually going to power around the outside of Henley and the 76 of Nelson Reeves. Look at Roberto Crown Jr. with the 2-for-1 move, but he's not done just yet. If he can get clear of Devon Fair, and he does, that's going to move Crown Jr. up into the fifth position. Roberto Crown Jr. with some pretty nice moves there, slicing and dicing his way through the field. We saw Cody Goforth make his way down pit road. He's going to lose a lap on that 408, trying to make some pit stops, possibly repairing a little bit of some more damage. Weston Roper, speaking of having a lot of damage, ooh, watch out, David Dixon getting right up to the rear of him. That was very close. These guys fighting for the spots just inside of the top 10. As we see now, the 76 starting to lose some ground to those two he was racing against. Weston Roper trying to get around the lap car of Ben Crouch, and potentially could catch and chase down the 76 of Nelson Reeves. Meanwhile, Justin Henley and Roberto Crown Jr. looks like they're going to try to battle it out with each other once more. As we take a look through the field, Unterweger still keeping Russell within reach. Collins pretty clear of that fifth position, and Roberto Crown Jr. trying to run away from Justin Henley. But up at the front are two leaders here, Christian Russell and Carl Unterweger, both keeping each other honest and within reach. Russell won at the fourth race at Denver on an amazing pit strategy, being able to complete the no-stop. Him and only one other person, Chris White, were able to pull that off. Meanwhile, Carl Unterweger here, looking for his first career Power V8 Cup Series win, trying to get the second win of the season for Ronnie Racing. Look throughout the pack here now. Marcus Brown has faded his way all the way to the very end of the line, as a lot of these cars getting on top of each other now. Here comes James Fletcher. We have a real train going on for this ninth position, excuse me. James Fletcher, David Dixon, Riley Hill, all the damage cars still battling it out for the very inside of the top 10. Riley Hill able to make it around. Hill hasn't had much luck DNQing a lot of races, but seems to have some stuff going his way, despite with a damaged race car, still well within the top 10 and getting himself some points positions. Meanwhile, we're going to see here Abel DeGroat and Aiden Smith. I can't believe it took someone 7 races to tell me that I was pronouncing Abel DeGroat's name wrong. It's like Abel, not Abel. So apologies for that. Was not alerted of that for a while, and glad that I was finally corrected on that. Back up at the front, though, Unterweger still trying to keep within reach of Christian Russell as we are approaching the halfway mark of this race. It's been an absolutely wild one. 3 cautions so far, 3 absolutely huge wrecks. But nonetheless, here at Phoenix, these guys have been putting on a show. And it has been absolutely a blast to watch. So these cars going to dive through the corners now. Mitchell Collins coming through. There's a pretty good gap spaced out between a lot of these guys. The real interesting battles here within the final top 10 spots. You're seeing Blake Parker on top of Weston Roper, on top of David Dixon. These guys hounding each other for what appears to be the 11th position. David Dixon running it up wide. Riley Hill trying to battle it out with Ben Crouch. That may allow some of these guys to close the gap within to Riley Hill. All these cars that are damaged still able to stay within the race and keep it going, as you're seeing here right now. David Dixon doing an absolute great job despite the damage he has to his gender fluid Pride car. We're seeing now the number 93 of Weston Roper diving his way to the inside, not able to make much of it work. Ronnie Martin trying to make quick work of the 07. As we're seeing right now, able to grow the last car in the points positions. Nick Kennedy just outside, followed by Aiden Smith and Adrian Rojas. Still plenty of opportunities to gain some positions, as now Riley Hill having to defend. David Dixon was able to get around the number 5 Leland Motorsports racer. Ronnie Martin going to really dive it to the inside of the 07 of Blake Parker. That's going to leave him susceptible, though, to the 27 of Abel DeGroat. As now we're seeing here the cars flying by once more. Just continuing to check in with our leaders here. Ontes Weffer's able to stay within about a half a second, 3/4 of a second of a reach. Myron Felder just about a second and a half back. Right now our top 3 easily running away from the field, and really the top 2 starting to run away from Myron Felder as well. It's going to get very interesting to see how or if lap traffic will be a factor, and if these guys will need to pit at some point. There's going to be these lap cars that are going to have to repair their damages, as we see here Brett Bishop, quite a bit of damage to his number 12 car, but he's still maintaining in the 8th position. Fletcher in 9th. Devon Fair holding his own, a lap down, along with Ben Crouch. And looks like Riley Hill got back around David Dixon for that 10th position. Dixon starting to lose out on a good bit of ground. He's going to lose out on 11th to Blake Parker and might face some pressure from Weston Roper as well. A lot of these V8 Cup cars are looking more like modifieds with how many body parts are missing and exposed engines. It really is just crazy to see the amount of damage that these cars are able to endure and how durable they are. Definitely can tell you for a lot of these guys, their air pressures and engine temps are not going to be an issue, as they are getting all the air possible going right to those engine bays. Riley Hill has been trying to get around Devon Fair for the longest time, but somehow this caved-in roof, this shell of a car, is still holding its own. Yes, Fair is a lap down, but a lot can still happen in this race. Drivers can still wreck out, and so that could still give him some more opportunities to climb his way up the leaderboard, even though he is a lap down. We're starting to see now Nelson Reeves has started to reel in the 75 and the 21. Henley has been on the rear of Roberto Crown Jr. for the longest time. Ontes Weffer starting to chase down Christian Russell, as Russell is trying to lap the 70 of Marcus Brown, coming up on lap 45 now. Brown being an absolute nuisance. Remember, blue flags aren't allowed here, so these lappers do have to race for their position. There are no blue flag enforcements, that's the word I'm looking for, in the Power V8 Cup Series, and because of this, it's making it a headache for Christian Russell. Ontes Weffer hopes to make easy work of the 70, but I don't think he's going to be able to, as Russell was just barely able to get around the 70 of Marcus Brown, and now Ontes Weffer has to try to deal with it. That's allowing Myron Felder to start closing up the gap to him. Felder going to look to the outside. He's going to try to make the move on Ontes Weffer. He's going to try to get around him for second. Felder going to throw it into the corner, and I think he's going to get a better run out. Myron Felder up to P2. The Sinclair Canada Racing Honda moving his way up through the field, as he has now gotten around the 43 of Carl Ontes Weffer. Marcus Brown, though, still holding them up, and the gap is now over a second and a half to second, as Felder and Ontes Weffer both going to go 3 wide around Brown, try to clear him in the corner, and they do. Ontes Weffer, though, going to look to sail around the outside of the 46, take the second position back. He might just be able to. He will. He has Myron Felder cleared. Ontes Weffer will get his second position back. But Myron Felder has definitely been putting a lot of pressure and has caused the 43 to lose a good bit of steam. Now 2 seconds back on the 39 Christian Russell. Russell has been absolutely dominating this race. He has locked up the most laps led, so as long as he finishes in the points, which shouldn't be difficult, he's going to get those bonus points, and Russell is looking like he might be able to be our first repeat winner on the season. Roberto Crown Jr. putting a hefty gap between himself and Justin Henley, just about a little over, or almost a second, about a half a second. Nelson Reeves also trying to keep the pressure on Justin Henley. Take a look throughout some of the positions in the back. Weston Roper finally able to get around the 03 and the 01 of Devon Fair. Ronnie Martin and Abel DeGroat have to make their way through the lap traffic now. DeGroat trying to get around the 92 of Ronnie Martin. This is, or actually, yeah, Martin got around DeGroat. DeGroat trying to get back at Martin. This is for 13th. Nick Kennedy now, it looks like David Dixon has fallen all the way outside of the points. Yes, he has. He's in 16th. His car is not handling well. It doesn't look like he's having a good time driving it, as he has fallen all the way outside the top 10. And he's now outside of the points. Antizwefer has a lot of work to do with less than 30 laps to go now if he wants to try to have a chance at the win here against Christian Russell. He's going to need something like a caution or some lap traffic to play into his favor, as it looks like Mitchell Collins might have suffered a little bit of damage trying to get around the 70 of Marcus Brown. He's got a little bit of a crinkled up hood. That's never good. Roberto Crown Jr. now coming on to the lap traffic. We'll see if Henley will be able to strike thanks to the lapper of Marcus Brown. The 75 is going to look to the outside, try to get a big run up there, but not going to be able to do much with it. Roberto Crown Jr. will close the door on him. The 21 now going to continue to hold the 5th position and still reeling in the 70 ever so closer. It's easy to get up to a car, but extremely hard to get around them. As now here comes Justin Henley absolutely using the draft off of Roberto Crown Jr., getting right up to the rear of him. Here comes Nelson Reeves as well, diving it into the corner. He wants to have a shot at that 5th position as well. Reeves sees a pretty big opportunity. Some heavy hitters in the points, not going to be able to score any. Ethan Hayden, 2nd place in points. He's out of the race, and I think he's going to fall back a couple positions with how well Christian Russell's doing, but he's on quite a bit of some lap traffic now as he's finally caught up the tail of the leaders. Here comes Antizwefer. That's really allowed him to reel him in, and we're going to have ourselves an interesting race. The lap traffic definitely going to be a factor here in these final stages of the event. 3 wide between the 60, 40, and the 17 for just a split second. Most of these cars don't even have a hood or a rear bumper on them. Russell, though, has to find a way around Cody Goforth. This is going to allow Antizwefer to look to the outside. Russell, though, able to hop back up. But now Antizwefer will then cross over to the inside. Myron Felder making his way back as our leaders trying to navigate through the lap traffic. First 2 able to get around the Goforth. Now they're going to aim for Ritson. Russell trying to get himself some cars in between him and Carl Antizwefer, but Antizwefer just pretty much replicating his line. Felder also right there as well, just in case any mistakes happen to be made. Russell's going to look to go to the outside around John Ritson, and that's going to work out well. That'll put not 1 but 2 cars between him and Carl Antizwefer. Goforth going to get back around the 43. Remember, these lappers are fighting for position, and no blue flags are enforced here in the Power VA Cup Series, so the leaders have to navigate their way around the traffic as they can. And if these lappers want to fight for their position, well, then they got to fight for the position. Russell, though, going to try to get around the 40 of Aiden Smith. Smith just going to try to get a better run out of the corner and pressure the 7 of Ricky Freeman Jr. Devon Fair looking like he's going to be at risk of going 2 laps down now, as here comes Freeman to the inside. Myron Felder has been able to get around the 43 of Carl Antizwefer once again, use the lap traffic as a pick, and he's able to make it work as our leaders are having a terrible time trying to get through this traffic. This is going to allow the 4th place of Mitchell Collins to really make his way up back to the front. A lot of our leaders, though, they're going to try to go around the outside. That seems to be where the most grip is. And, yep, it's going to work out the best for them. Russell going to be able to get around a good bunch of them, and so will Felder and Antizwefer. If they can stay up there now, as Russell dips back down to the inside, Felder will as well. Antizwefer will stay high, now come back down low. Mitchell Collins has got himself up to this tail end of the lap traffic, but he's got quite a bit of cars to get through if he wants to be able to battle for real track position. Felder going to try to put Aiden Smith between him and Antizwefer, and he will do so. Christian Russell has been able to put Devon Fair another lap down, and it looks to be the last bit of the lap traffic for now. Just ahead of him is Adrian Rojas. There's still a couple other cars, Nick Kennedy, David Dixon, and Ben Crouch as well, so it's definitely not far from over in terms of navigating this traffic for our leaders. In the meantime, though, Antizwefer starting to lose out on a lot of time to Felder. Felder trying to gain time back to chase back down our leader, Christian Russell, but Russell has been picture perfect even when he's been getting through this traffic. It got pretty close, I won't lie. The 43 of Untersweffer got up to the rear of him. Myron Felder looked like he was going to make a charge, but once again, Christian Russell able to open that gap back out to a sustainable amount. He's going to try to make quick work of Adrian Rojas. The quicker he can get around him, the better, but Rojas not going to make it easy for him. Cuts the nose down and shuts the door on him. Mitchell Collins has gone around some of the lappers and is going to try to get his way up to Carl Untersweffer. Collins, in his very first Power V8 Cup Series race, doing an incredible job here as he is looking to knock on the door of the top 3. This would be Double or Nothing Motorsports' best finish and their first finish in the points. With their 3rd driver, it looks like Mitchell Collins could be the answer that Double or Nothing's been looking for. As we see here now, Collins going to look to the inside. 2nd and 3rd all on top of each other under a blanket. The 02 going to dive to the inside of the 43. Down the backstretch they go. This is also allowing some of our drivers outside the top 5. Henley has gone around Roberto Crown Jr. and is now in the 5th position. Crown Jr. and Nelson Reeves coming up to knock on the door. If they can make some quick work of some of this lap traffic, they'll be right there battling it out for those top 3 positions. It's allowing Christian Russell to run away, but we're going to have a really interesting battle to see who gets second. As here we go, almost 3 wide for second. Felder going to look to the inside of Untersweffer. Mitchell Collins trying to make the move. All these guys trying to battle it out with the lappers. Felder dives it into the inside. We're going 3 wide. Many a car is giving it all that they have. Devon Fair still out here with one of the most beaten and battered cars we've seen in series history. He's making it work and going to the end. Yes, he's 2 laps down, but the fact that he's out on the track is a testament of its own. Collins was able to get around. It looks like Myron Felder has really lost a lot of time. So is Justin Henley. As now Roberto Crown Jr. moves his way up into 4th. And looks like Reeves going to get knocked up the track by Devon Fair. Reeves going to hold his own, though. Justin Henley going to get around the 46. I think Myron Felder might have used up his equipment a little too much. And he's really losing out on some spots, going all the way back from 2nd to 7th. Collins, though, not done just yet. He's in 3rd, but he wants 2nd, trying to get around the 40 of Aiden Smith, who's a lap down, looking to get to Carl Untersweffer in the 43. Not looking like too much going for him. Now Roberto Crown Jr. up into 4th, and Nelson Reeves makes his way into the top 5. Henley, though, not just done yet, looking to get to the rear of the 76 and Nelson Reeves and make his way up to the front. Right here, as we see, though, Collins has gone around the 40 of Aiden Smith. Christian Russell has just been absolutely checked out, unless like Ben Crouch or David Dixon holds him up. This is pretty much Russell's race to lose if we make it to the end. He's got about a little under a 4-second advantage. And he is making the most of it right now. Mitchell Collins trying to chase down the 43 for 2nd. Roberto Crown Jr. looking to hold off for 4th, as Nelson Reeves has to back off to defend for that 5th position between him, Justin Henley, and Myron Felder, all trying to crack their way back into the top 5. Just outside of them, we have James Fletcher and Brett Bishop, and Riley Hill rounds out our top 10. It looks like the 07 of Blake Parker sits in 11th, Weston Roper 12th, Ronnie Martin 13th, Abel DeGroat in 14th, and Nick Kennedy in 15th. As right now, looking at our leader, Christian Russell, looking to try to lap the 45 of David Dixon and maybe even the 68 of Nick Kennedy. This would be the first race. If Russell can get to Kennedy, this would be the first time the leader has ever lapped someone within the points positions. Right now, as it stands, Christian Russell out in front by a long shot. Collins trying to chase down that 43 still. Henley able to get around the 76. Nelson Reeves looked to have some trouble with some of the lappers. He's now fallen back down to 7th. Henley going to try to chase down the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. Myron Felder coming back as well. Maybe their tires starting to come just a little bit more to life here. As Henley going to look to the inside, Crown to the outside, trying to use the lapper as a pick. Crown Jr. able to make easy work of the 40 of Aiden Smith. He's going to keep the 75 of Justin Henley at bay. Untersweffer, though, getting back to the 65 of Adrian Rojas. as we are now just 10 laps to go in this race. Henley with a lot of pressure from Myron Felder. Felder getting right up to the rear of the 75 now. The 40 of Aiden Smith really holding up the 75. Felder trying to look for an alternative line around the 75 of Justin Henley. Felder, though, not able to make it work as Cody Goforth able to get back around the 46. All sorts of battles for position and battles within the lappers now, as Carl Untersweffer still has quite a bit of traffic to get through to try to get to the rear of Christian Russell. Just 9 laps to go. The laps are counting down. They're ticking down for this number 39 team. Russell looking to be the first driver to win a race by leading every single lap, and the first driver on the season to get more than one win. Russell obviously won the 4th race at Denver, and now he's looking to do the same here at Phoenix. Christian Russell definitely not one to mess with in terms of the championship contention. Untersweffer trying to put in a good effort to get that first place position back, but just not really able to do much with it. Henley holding on for right now, as we are now coming up just about 7 laps to go. And it is quite possible Christian Russell could get the 45 of David Dixon and the 68 of Nick Kennedy. And if he does that, it would again be the first time we would have someone finish in the points a lap down. Haven't seen that yet all season long, but with how dominant of a performance Christian Russell has been giving us, it is quite a possibility here. Coming down to just 6 to go. The 02 of Mitchell Collins trying to get up to the 43. He is catching him. The question is if he'll have enough time or not. Mitchell Collins wanting to get a 2nd place finish in his debut race. The top 3 is still incredible in your very first ever race. And it'd be great for Double or Nothing Motorsports, considering the 2 drivers they went through, Daniel Smith and Landon Laudenbach, have not been able to perform anything near the level of what Mitchell Collins is doing right now. So absolute props to the 02 team and their driver for the great showcase of driving and performance they've been able to put on today. Russell getting really close to David Dixon, though. Dixon trying to just get 1 point. Nick Kennedy looking to do the same. These are 2 drivers that are within the top 20. Kennedy within the top 20 and 15, and Dixon within the top 10. It's possible Dixon could lose out again a race with no points, and he could fall outside of the top 10 in points. As Christian Russell now coming around, going to get the call to 3 laps to go, so whatever happens now, it'll make the race official. If whether or not we get a caution. It looks like Carl Untersweffer is actually starting to catch Christian Russell just a little bit. I don't know if it's enough, but he is. Russell is getting stuck behind the 45 and the 68 with just 3 laps to go. Dixon really wants to get around the 68 of Nick Kennedy. This is for position, and this is for points position, and Dixon's going to be able to make the move stick. David Dixon into the top 15. He'll bump Nick Kennedy out of the points and make Nick Kennedy possibly go a lap down. Untersweffer really trying to reel in the 39 of Christian Russell as we're coming to just 2 laps to go now. Look at Carl Untersweffer trying to fly in. He gained a 2nd that lap. If he can do something similar here, he may just maybe have a shot. He's going to need Nick Kennedy to keep on holding him up. Carl Untersweffer trying to reel in the 39 of Christian Russell with just a lap and a half to go. But Russell, though, looks to be out front and in control, coming to the white flag. Christian Russell has to make it around one more time, and he'll be able to capitalize on this dominant performance today. Untersweffer only able to gain half a second that time. He's going to need a lot more if he wants to be able to make it, as Russell finally going to be able to get around Nick Kennedy and put him a lap down. That should do it, unless Russell is to make a tremendous mistake. Coming around for the final time, Christian Russell has led from lap 1 all the way to lap 78. He's going to win the Good Sam 400 at Phoenix. What a dominant performance by the 39 team. Started in 2nd, but grabbed the lead from lap 1 and never looked back. Christian Russell, your winner here at Phoenix. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our finishing results for today's race. Christian Russell with an absolutely dominant performance, led every single lap from start to finish and was able to take home the W in today's race. Coming home in second was Carl Untersweffer, followed by the 0-2 of Mitchell Collins in his debut race, coming home in third. That's always a good performance you want to see for your first race, especially for Double or Nothing Motorsports. This is their first points position finish of the season. Roberto Crown Jr. would come home in fourth, our points leader, and fifth place would be Justin Henley, finally capitalizing on a good run after his race 3 win. Myron Felder getting him back in the points in sixth, followed by Nelson Reeves. Once again, Reeves just always finds a way to finish high up in the points. He does it every single time, avoids the trouble, and once again gets himself a top 10 finish. James Fletcher coming home with another top 10 as well. That'll be a good points boost for him. And Riley Hill, after DNQing quite a few races in a row, finally gets to get a points finish, finishing in 9th. And Brett Bishop will continue upon his streak of points in the 10th position. Blake Parker would come home in 11th, followed by Weston Roper in his debut race in 12th. Always good to get points in your first race. Ronnie Martin would come home 13th, Abel DeGroat in 14th, and David Dixon would come home 15th, the final car on the lead lap, and grabs the final points-paying position. Nick Kennedy would go down 1 lap, followed by Adrian Rojas, Aiden Smith, Ricky Freeman Jr. Those would be the last of the cars that would be 1 lap down in the race. Ben Crouch would finish in the 20th position, 2 laps down. Everyone behind him as well would finish 2 laps down, including Cody Goforth, John Ritson, Devon Fair, and Marcus Brown, the final ones of the remaining cars, the final 24 remaining cars we had for the race. And again, everyone from 20th on back finished 2 laps down. Everyone from 25th on back retired as late as the lap 20 incident, including Owen Scott, Jeff Bolton, Priya McShane, Adam Wilson, Alexander Rowe, and Xander Howell rounding out the top 30. Second place in points, or what was second place in points, Ethan Hayden finished 31st, followed by Boston Jones, JQ Halak, Miles Mashburn, Arvin Basic, Herbert Oaks III, Chris White, Christian Vargas, Zachary Fitzwater Sr., and unfortunately, Seishin Tomiyaka going to have a very bad debut, getting wrecked in pretty much the first straightaway in his debut race. Then finishing behind Tomiyaka would be Zachary DeLello and John McFadden, also the ones who retired from that lap 1 incident. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at how the point standings have shapen up for this race. Roberto Crown Jr., thanks to his 4th place finish, is going to be able to hang on to the points lead. He's now established in 111 points to his total. Christian Russell just back by 5 points with his dominant win, so the title run is definitely shaping up to be very interesting. Ethan Hayden's going to move down to 3rd place after failing to score any points, getting caught up in that huge lap 20 incident. Nelson Reeves able to move his way up to 4th with 68 points. Abel DeGroat going to fall down a position. Still gained a few points, but not as many as Reeves did. 6th place is James Fletcher. He's going to be able to make his way up a couple spots with that 8th place finish. Arvin Basic and Justin Henley now in a tie for 7th with 55 points. Brett Bishop is in 9th with 53 points. And Myron Felder sits just inside of the top 10 gauntlet positions with his 6th place finish today. Felder is tied with Owen Scott with 50 points, but Felder was beat him on the tiebreaker and is in the championship gauntlet as it currently sits. Those on the outside looking in, the top 15 that are still locked in points, but just outside the championship gauntlet positions, would include the likes of Owen Scott, as mentioned, in the 11th position. David Dixon, his free fall in points continue as he has now fallen outside of the top 10. He is currently in the 12th position. He only gained 1 point in today's race, not enough to withhold his top 10 in points. Chris White sits in 13th with 43 points, and then the final ones within the top 15 locked into each race, both Adam Wilson and Devon Fair tied with 38 points to their name. Those just on the outside looking in to get locked into each race include Nick Kennedy, just 1 point back off of Adam Wilson and Devon Fair. He would have been able to tie with them had he gotten that 15th place finish, but David Dixon stole that away from him. 17th is Zachary DeLello after a poor performance getting involved in some huge wrecks. Boston Jones, same thing. They're tied with 34 points apiece. Ronnie Martin able to move himself up a couple positions thanks to his points position finish. He's back in the top 20 with 33 points. And Leland Hill still sits in 20th position with 31 points. We'd like to thank you for tuning in once again for the Good Sam 400. We hope you enjoyed the race as much as we did. Lots of chaos, lots of action, some great racing all around, and it was a very fun day and a fun race to commentate. Be sure to tune in to our sponsors, social medias, Royalty Graphics, Victory Lane Collectables, and check out the Power Official Instagram. All these social media pages are up on the screen right now. You see it on the graphic. Don't forget to tune in next week. We head back to the East Coast, and it's going to be a wild one. If you thought this race was crazy, you haven't seen crazy yet, because we are going to Talladega Super Speedway for the Peak Antifreeze 500. You will not want to miss it. Our second plate race of the year. It's going to have a lot of action, a lot of craziness and chaos, and all in all, we're going to see an exciting event. We hope to see you there, and once again, we thank you for tuning in to this installment of the Power V8 Cup Series.